Are we witnessing something big? Chicago's Democratic leadership was shaken to the core when citizens absolutely grilled Mayor Brandon Johnson to face for a disastrous U-turn on his immigration policies. But that's just the beginning, because Trump's re-election has sent a wave of courage, even across blue states, to hold their leadership's feet to the fire. Watch these incredible moments before I tell you what's going on.
Good evening, everybody.
Good afternoon.
I want to know, how does it feel that Trump is in office right now? You see the Mayor Brandon Johnson, you underestimate us. You underestimate the black people, and you underestimate Chicago Red. We're the thorn in y'all side, and we're going to be the thorn on everybody else in this council member side too. If you don't stop what you're doing, we're going to take matters in our own hand, and we're going to stop it. You know that Trump had pulled 45% of the voter in the state of Illinois, 37 in the city of Chicago. That's the statistic. That means that Illinois is turning purple. We're going to turn red.
Y'all can bird dog me all y'all want, but if it's relationship over duty, then y'all don't serve the blue. And you can smirk all you want.
Mr. Sims, direct your attention towards me, please.
You're a criminal. Why do I got to address you? The feds need to address you. DOJ need to address you, and hopefully Donald Trump will address you. Because you're going to protect the undocumented, while you're going to allow for the citizens in Chicago to suffer under your, 3%? See, Joe Lopez cooked that 3% up a long time ago. Y'all called it a circuit breaker. Y'all been talked about it. Remember, before you came in here and gave that jovial speech, you need to be inspected. You and that creep over there.
Emotions are running high, and honestly, I don't think you can blame them. If you've been following what's going on in Chicago over the last few years, you understand how the city has almost become an unwitting front line for the illegal immigration crisis on the border, despite being a Midwestern city. By the way, this is a great time to subscribe and hit the notification bell, because we bring you news that the mainstream media will not. Now, if you're wondering why Chicago has become a major part of the immigration debate, it's because the city's Democrat-led leadership inside the blue state of Illinois has turned into a sanctuary city for illegal migrants in the country by allowing them residence and access to public services while they await their cases and documentation to move forward. But you might be asking, why has it become such a large problem under Mayor Brandon Johnson? Well, the city of around 2.6 million people, Chicago, has let in more than 50,000 illegal immigrants in just a few short years, which strained services and infrastructure despite the fact that it was Brandon Johnson himself that was acting tough on immigration when he wanted the votes.
It's the fact that we have a governor, an elected official in the state of Texas that is placing families on buses without shoes, cold, wet, tired, hungry, afraid, traumatized, and then they come to the city of Chicago where we have homelessness, we have mental health clinics that have been shut down and closed. You have people who are seeking employment. The governor of Texas needs to take a look in the mirror.
But then he switched after the election, and now Chicago's budget has risen a massive $6 billion since the pandemic, to the point that it faces a $1 billion budget deficit for next year. So what does Brandon Johnson do to address that? Instead of addressing the core of the issue, the mayor literally decided it would be best to backtrack on his campaign promises and levy massive property taxes to extract $300 million from more of the city's residents. That was going to further strain the budgets of a vulnerable population already struggling to keep up with inflation, and the fact that the mayor easily recanted on his promises only added insult to injury. Do you see where the frustration comes from? When these residents saw Brandon Johnson seated in front of them, it was probably harder to control that outpour of resentment, and it shows in an example like this.
Acting like, you just gonna bully everybody. You got people, officers whose families don't even want you to come to the funeral. You just like a schoolyard bully. That at some point, and you might not know nothing about it because you grew up in Elgin, but those of us who grew up on the south side and west side of Chicago, we all know at some point that bully gets cornered in the alley, and everybody come at him, and he ain't gonna have nobody to help him. That's you. That's you.
That's some tough rhetoric, but imagine how aggravated it must be to struggle to get by and feel safe in one of America's largest cities while your mayor is busy making TikToks instead. And for the rest of the population, I'm sure it was a cathartic experience to watch him get grilled by common citizens like this in hopes that some sanity prevails in the halls of power. Right now, he's literally one of the most disapproved mayors in Chicago's history at an abysmal approval rating of 28%. There's some other third-party polling numbers that even suggest that numbers are as low as 14%, which is almost unheard of in politics at large, and the reason in the eyes of the people is very simple. They want their government to first be accountable to the people they represent, rather than squeezing them of their money with taxation and taking on the burdens of so many illegal immigrants in just one city.
First, let's start with cutting off illegals, getting free everything. Free housing, free schooling, free food. Yeah, let's start with that. That'll save us a lot of money. What, $600 million? Let's start there. Then let's start with your salary. You are going down in history as the worst mayor in America. Let's start with cutting yours. You making too much money. Let's start there. And now let's start with the police detail you had, the 200 police detail you had. Let's start with that. Because you Democrats, and you remember you told us to defund the police? Remember, you ran on that. Remember, you was to defund the police? Let's start with that. Let's defund the police detail that you have. And let's put the police back in our neighborhood, because we're not for defunding the police.
And you know what? It seems like the incoming Donald Trump administration, especially under someone as straightforward as Tom Homan as the border czar, Chicago is about to become the center of attention for that very reason. Tom Homan himself has remarked that the city will be the start of his deportation drive, and even recently threatened to prosecute Mayor Brandon Johnson in case he tried to become an obstacle to the deportation drive.
We're not going to bend or break or cower to someone's threat. We're going to stand up and unite around our shared values, and they have my assurance that I'm going to protect the families of this city.
If your Chicago mayor doesn't want to help, he can step aside. But if he impedes us, if he knowingly harbors and conceals an illegal alien, I will prosecute him.
It remains to be seen how far that goes after Trump takes office, because there are undoubtedly going to be several legal and logistical challenges to make that happen, but it's hard to deny why a tough rhetoric like this would be attractive to a voter base that is struggling to even be heard by their elected representatives. There have been several trenches of funding in the city, like the $33 million released last year for more migrant shelters and services, and it wouldn't be as big of a problem if the common citizen's life in the city was also improving, which it just isn't.
The city of Chicago, the local government, the state of Illinois, has violated the 5th Amendment, the 14th Amendment, the U.S. Constitution. Y'all take an oath. The government owes my family for eminent domain. Y'all sit here and ignore this. The government owes my mother, as a single black daughter raised by a single black mother who gave me what I needed to be down here. That's why I'm not scared. I know the Constitution. I know the federal laws. I said last year, I said, this is December 13th. I said, for the last 60 days, I've sent an email to the Chicago Inspector General requesting that they look into the accounting of the $640 million. The key players in the illegal immigration scheme are Carlos Ramirez Rosa, Rosana Rodriguez Sanchez, Michael Rodriguez, Andre Vasquez, Beatrice Ponce de Leon. As far as making Chicago great again, the black Democratic leadership in Congress showed that they have no black agenda. That's why they have allowed all this money to go to everyone but the black Americans for decades. The only way the Democrats should be voted back in is find and secure the black agenda, pass the debt, pay the debt America owes us, apologize to black Americans and say they won't try this S again, and as far as locally, flip Illinois red on principle.
How long ago do you think this can go again before the state just stops giving the same politicians a chance? It's things like this that turn over states and cities to opposing political parties, and the Democrats don't have a lot of time to do that if they hope to retain Illinois in the next election as well. But let me know in the comments what you thought about this, and share this with someone you may know on the ground in Chicago to see if they feel the same way. Certainly a place in America today that has almost become a microcosm of political evolution away from the old establishment leaders that has happened on a broad scale in the entire country.